What's going on, guys? It's me, Fan HC here, and today we have another trip announcement for you guys. I'm super excited to talk about this trip in today's video, and honestly, this has been a trip that was unexpected, but yet I made the most out of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm announcing the 2025 LAX Summer Day Trip. Super excited about this day trip. This will be really exciting as I have never went to LAX since December 2022, and it's really nice to come back to LAX to see all the various airlines that operated out of this airport. Now, as mentioned before, I only went to LAX once, and that was back in December 2022. So it's really nice to come back at this airport for about probably 2.5 years or so, depending on it's kind of like that 2.5 year mark, I guess. But it's really nice to go to LAX during the summer and see what the operations is like over there. Of course, with LAX being one of the most busiest airports in the world and busiest in the United States, it's really nice to see all the various airlines that operate out of this aircraft, the many planes they have, and overall it's going to be really exciting. So, without being said, I'm going to get started with this trip. So, kind of the background about this trip is, let me go into the background of this trip. So, the reason why I'm going to be doing this day trip is because one of my family members will be coming to LAX to stay there before flying to Sacramento, because I have a family member that's flying from the Philippines, and she's going to be visiting here in the US for the entire month of June. So I'm going to have to go to LAX and kind of see her there, and then after that we're going to fly back to Sacramento together. So that's kind of the thing, that's kind of the main thing on why I'm going to be going to LAX. But another talking point on why I want to go there is kind of do some plane spotting, of course, and then try out the various famous LAX spotting locations. You got the In-N-Out, the Imperial Hill, and then there's a lot of places in LAX to do some plane spotting at. And overall, it's going to be really cool to see all the various once again to try out the various plane spotting locations here at this airport. And yeah, there's a lot of famous ones that many plane spotters would really like to do. Of course, one of them being the In-N-Out spotting location. So without being said, I kind of got into a bit of the background over there. So without being said, let's go into the trip details. So here is the trip. So I'll be leaving for LAX on June 1st, and of course, yeah, June 1st, Sacramento to Los Angeles, and the date will be June 1st. And again, this is just going to be a day trip, so I'll be staying at LAX for the entire day. So that's kind of the basics, the basic things about this slide right here. So from Sacramento to LAX, just one day, June 1st. So basically the beginning of the month. So yeah, that's kind of the first step on this trip, but we're going to be talking about the flight. So of course, since LAX, because I don't want to be driving 6 hours. I think that's an 8-hour drive from Sacramento to LA. So I'll be flying there instead, which takes about at least an hour or 30 minutes or so. So let's get started with our first flight, which will be on a Delta Connection Embraer E175. Once again, this will be, I'm guessing this could now be my 4th time flying a Delta E175, because I've flown on the E175 3 times, and then I will be flying this one to LAX the 2nd time. But this is the morning flight, so Delta Connection Embraer E175 will be the first flight of the day, and that will be, of course, from SMA to LAX. So flight number is SkyWest Flight 3822. This is a SkyWest operated plane. The flight time is 1 hour and 35 minutes. Time of departure is 10:04 a.m. and the time of arrival is 11:39 a.m. And my seat for that flight is 17A, which is on the window seat. And no additional notes, since I've flown on this aircraft before and flown this particular route before, but this will be different because this is a morning flight. The last time I flew a Delta E175 from SMA to LAX was an afternoon flight in 2022. But it's really nice to fly on the Delta E175 once again. I think the E175 could be my favorite regional fleet on the regional plane on Delta Connection's fleet, alongside the CRJs, but I've been commonly flying on this aircraft more often. But the thing is, June 1st is on a Sunday, and I'll be coming from work on that day. So because of that, I will have to leave a little bit early for work just for me to board this flight or wait at my gate. So Yeah, because like I would usually work early in the mornings, like doing all the various like works, like the bag handling and all that stuff. So yeah, because of this flight that I'm gonna be having on that day, I will be leaving work a little bit earlier. But the good news is it's within the airport, so I can just literally walk from my workspace to Terminal A. So shouldn't be that hard of a walk, I'll say. Which that's like the benefit when you're working at an airport and then you have a flight coming up. You're literally at the airport and then you can still fly to your destination or get to your gate in just under like an hour or so. Just like what, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the walk time. But yeah, that's kind of like a benefit right there when you're working at an airport and then you have a flight at your airport. So yeah, once again, this will be on the Delta E175. This will be the first flight of the day from SMF to LAX, Skywest Flight 3822. Time of departure is 10:04 a.m. So yeah, and after that I arrive at LAX. So what am I going to be doing at LAX? Well, here's my plan for my stay at LAX. Of course, the main thing in particular is me doing some plane spotting. So, of course, you got the in and out location, the Imperial Hill, the Proud Bird, and then there's like other various like spotting locations at LAX that many aviation enthusiasts would go to. So, of course, as you can see by the pictures on this side of the screen, so that will be the top right side, you can see some various locations. These are like great examples of like great photos when you're at LAX. So you can see this one features a Virgin Atlantic 747-400 landing on, I'm guessing that's like, I'm not really too familiar with LAX's runways because like I haven't went to that airport so often. So I think this could be like the north side or like the west side of the airport, or like east side. But let's just say that from the location, from my viewpoint, this could be like the north runways of the airport. So that's where the in and out location is, and yeah, you can see how close the planes are landing. And this have some like this for aviation photographers. This captures some really great photos over there, alongside Imperial Hill if you're spotting on the south side. So here is like an example with an Emirates Airbus A380 taking off. You got the LAX ATC tower, you got the mountains, and then kind of like part of the, I'm guessing, I'm not sure what city is that. I think, yeah, I'm not really too familiar with the the cities outside of LA, but yeah, you can see this is another great example on like really good photos when you're plane spotting at LAX. And then here is the location on the Proud Bird location, like the plane spotting location at the Proud Bird restaurant. It features a modified Boeing 727 right there. And yeah, it's really cool to see these photos. I would often see these photos on Instagram and throughout the internet, and also on YouTube as well, because like there's a lot of plane spotters at LAX who do some live coverage of LAX air traffic action. So yeah, it's really nice to also feature this in person. While I have seen this before, but that's within the terminal itself, more in particular Terminal 3. But it'll be even more exciting to get out of LAX so I can do some plane spotting at these locations. So yeah, looking forward on doing that, and hopefully I can try to do all of them in one go, but we'll see how that works. Next bullet point I do want to talk about is, of course, as mentioned with the plane spotting at In and Out, I also do want to have some lunch in that In and Out location. So the In and Out close to the LAX runways for the north side, so I can capture those beautiful arrivals that are coming in on those runways. So yeah, I'm looking forward to also doing that, and yeah, just having a luncheon, have like a double with a lemonade and fries. That's kind of like my cup of tea whenever I order something on In and Out. And if possible, this is kind of like a bullet point, but this is kind of like a questionable, but hopefully, if possible, I can meet Kevin from Airline Videos. So Airline Videos is famous for doing live coverage of LAX plane spottings. And yeah, as mentioned before, there's Kevin, and then he also has another guy named Rudy, and he's very famous throughout all within the aviation community. He does an amazing job on doing these live stream coverages of plane spottings at LAX, and sometimes some other airports outside of LAX, like San Francisco. I think he's currently in JFK right now, so if possible, like, we'll see how that works, but I know he has like a 24-hour camera of live coverage of plane planes coming in from LAX. Now, I did mention LA flights, however, I looked through their story and they are currently in Frankfurt, Germany, so most likely I won't see LA flights. I've been watching a little bit of LA flights' content, but highly likely, because they're in Germany, Frankfurt to be exact, I'm not gonna see them in person. But maybe a possible, hopefully, airline videos depending on when they're gonna come back to LAX. Hopefully they're there for the Sunday show. And for my fourth bullet point, as mentioned before on like the background, just have like family relative bondings. Of course, to be in particular, I'm gonna be talking about this, but my grandma is gonna be coming from the Philippines and we'll be staying at LAX for a bit. So yeah, my mom and dad wanted me to send me to LAX so I can like escort her during the trip back. So yeah, that's kind of like the reason why, outside of all the plane spotting thing, that why I'm gonna be going to LAX is to help escort my grandma throughout the airport and all the check-in process, because again, she's gonna be coming from the Philippines, and yeah, it's gonna be a bit of like a hassle for her, because I don't think she hasn't been to the US in like years. So yeah, it's gonna be different for her, but I think the travel experience can be similar compared to like when she last visited here. So yeah, it's nice to have some bonding time with my grandma. And after all the fun time we had at LAX, it's time to head back home to Sacramento, and then here is my next flight. So next flight will be in the evening, which is gonna be this flight right here. I'll be on board a United Express Embraer E175 once again, and this aircraft will be once again operated for SkyWest Airlines. The flight route will be from KLAX to KSMF. Flight number is SKW 5430. Flight time is 1 hour and 39 minutes. Time of departure is 7:22 p.m. Time of arrival at Sacramento is 9:01 p.m. and I'll be seated at C22A, which is all the way at the very back. Now, I have flown on a United Express Embraer E175, and I forgot to mention this on the background, but this will be my second day trip of the year, as I already took my Denver winter day trip back in January 2025. So this will be my second time on a United E175, and depending on what livery is on, it's either between Continental, Globe, or Evo Blue. But again, like, I don't know what aircraft they're gonna send, because they still have a handful of Continental Globe's E175s and just a little bit of handful, or kind of like a bit of a handful of Evo Blue, so kind of like 50-50 on those liveries. But hopefully for this next flight, it's an Evo Blue E175. But if it's Continental Globe, I'm okay with that. It's still nice to actually fly on a Continental Globe plane, because who knows if those liveries will be around for much longer. So yeah, that's kind of like sums up this trip overall. So again, it's just a simple day trip, nothing too like flashy and everything. It's not like a special trip or anything. It's just a simple day trip, picking up my grandma from LAX and then heading back to Sacramento after a day at LAX. So that's kind of like basically it. So nothing too much to go over too much, but we're gonna go into my hopes during this trip. Now, for my hopes, of course, I hope there's clear sky weather, because obviously in California, since it's approaching the summertime, there's gonna be a lot of clear sky weather and very good visibility. No clouds, no rain, unlike what it is in winter. Hopefully I can see some awesome special liveries at LAX. Of course, LAX is just full of things when it comes to like plane spotting. You got like all of the AC-80s in the world, but not to mention the special liveries they would sometimes bring. Like maybe Lufthansa Retro 747-8 might come on that day. Who knows? Maybe some other special from an international airline. Probably like one of Alaska's special liveries, like the Disney liveries. For one, maybe I could see some Southwest specials like California 1, Imul 1, Freedom 1, Illinois 1, or some sort, and all that stuff. Yeah, like, again, LAX, they're just full of really cool surprises, and yeah, you can be bamboozled if there's like a special livery that you want to catch, and if somehow it's there. It's kind of like that kind of like thing. Third bullet point I do want to talk about is I hope there's no mishaps during the returning flight, because again, LAX is considered to be one of the busiest airports in the United States. So I hope there's no mishaps during my flight back home. Hopefully no delays, or like delays in the check-in, and yeah, just hope for a smoother process as we return home. Fourth bullet point is to be safe, because LA, just like the LA area, there could be some things that might happen in LA. Of course, it is a big city, but yeah, like even so, I still gotta be safe, watch out for some individuals that I may come across, and yeah, just protect myself from all these, from the outsiders of this world. And if his bullet point, kind of like a more simple bullet point, just kind of like my own, like just kind of like my own style of how I would do this is have a great time inside and outside aviation. So just have a great time basically when I'm plane spotting and then hanging out with my grandma, as mentioned on the previous bullet points I mentioned throughout this trip announcement. So yeah, that's it for this trip announcement. Overall, I'm super excited for this day trip, and overall, like, it's really nice to go back to LAX once again. And yeah, hopefully for a great trip. I'm just hoping for a great trip, and hopefully there's no like unnatural circumstances from on my behalf, or something that might happen within my trip. But just to put it into like a summary, I just hope this trip goes as smooth as planned, and hopefully I can knock out many of these bullet points that I mentioned in this trip announcement. So super excited to go back to LA, and make sure to follow me on Instagram at DreamlinerFanHT so you can stay up to date, because like that's where I mostly like upload all the up to date information in regards to my travels and everything. So looking forward to this trip, and it's gonna be really exciting to start off the months of June. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss a new upload from me anytime soon. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.